So welcome, Dr. San Chirico, to OMSC's Roundtable.
It's great to be with you.
It's great to have you here. This Roundtable is a new media series under the Overseas Ministry Study Center where we highlight scholars and students of world Christianity and mission studies. And it is indeed a pleasure to have you, to get to know more about you and your work.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming on. We want to begin our conversation today to get to know more about you.
Sure.
That is more of your academic training, where you did your doctorate degree, and in what field. And if you would like to share a little bit about your dissertation too, as you did your doctoral work. So,
Absolutely.
do you mind, sharing with us?
Yeah. So my path is not one I often recommend because I actually was at Boston College. I started at Boston College.
Okay.
And while I was at Boston College, I was working within the BTI, Boston Theological Institute.
Yeah. Yes.
And I was taking lots of classes with people that the center would be very familiar with. Dana Robert comes to mind.
Yes.
Those who are familiar with comparative theology would know Frank Clooney. Other great scholars. My interest when I first got to BC was really mission history and missiology.
Oh.
As I kept moving within the program, my interests in South Asia became increased. And I came to see myself as someone who really needed more work in South Asian religions. Hindu traditions in particular. So I did something kind of crazy. Unable to stay longer at BC, I decided to apply to other doctoral programs.
Oh, wow.
This is not something I recommend for people at home. But that's what happened. And so I actually left Boston College after 3 years. And with the blessing of my advisor, and I enrolled at UC Santa Barbara.
Okay.
And then there I did work in South Asian religions.
Right.
And that's where I got my PhD from.
Okay.
Yeah.
And regards to your dissertation, is it more so on Hinduism, or is it relations to Hinduism and Christianity? Do you know?
Yeah, so the dissertation was really born while I was at BC.
At BC.
And I knew that what I wanted to do was in North India, because I first went to India in 1993. I worked for Habitat for Humanity International.
Oh,
I was there for 3 years, 2 years in the north, 1 year in what is now Telangana. And my interest was more northern-centric at the time, and my language work had been in Hindi. And so what I wanted to do was study the interaction and exchange between Hindus and Christians in the Hindi belt. Now, when this dawned on me, it came to me, I didn't know exactly where that would be.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I just had this sort of vision of that sort of study, largely ethnographic study.
Oh, okay.
As the years went by, and as I moved from one institution into UCSB and did my 3 years of coursework and field exams, and then started writing a prospectus, it became more clear through the help of Matthew Schmaltz, who's at Holy Cross. He alerted me to an indigenous order, a Catholic order called the Indian Missionary Society.
Oh.
And they were doing work in Varanasi. And he said, you should go there and see what's going on.
Yeah.
There are groups there that you might find interesting. So in 2008, I went there. And for the first time, I found out about what are called Christ Bhaktas, devotees of Christ.
Yeah.
And so that would lead to an ethnographic and historical study of the Christ Bhakta phenomenon, of mostly low caste Hindus worshiping Jesus in Catholic spaces without being baptized.
Wow.
Okay, so what I was bringing to this by the period of time that I was ready was all that work in South Asian religions, right? And before that, I had done the work in mission history, right? And other work in patristics and whatnot at the BTI. So this was coming together for me in a way that became a very rich field. And the Christ Bhaktas being in between are really interesting to think with about South Asian religions, about the nature of religiosity in India in the 21st century, about world Christianity,
Of course.
about category construction. All of these things are at play. And so they became very fruitful. That's what the dissertation ended up being about. And then that, a decade later, became the book, Between Hindu and Christian.
Wow.
That's the story.
That is quite a journey.
It is quite a journey.
Yeah. But I can hear that your personal life really kind of translated into your own research, right? Your interest in India, and then religions into wherever, leading into India, your interest in Christianity and Hinduism as well. So,
Absolutely. When I first moved to India in 1993, I learned pretty quickly what it is like to be a Christian in a predominantly Hindu space. And I lived with Christians in North India, with a family. And so that reoriented me, and it gave me questions that I eventually brought to Princeton Theological Seminary 3 years later when I was an MDiv student. So when I had opportunities here, one of the wonderful things about studying here for my MDiv was while I was taking the 101 courses, I was also studying Hinduism with Charles Ryerson. So all of those things were coming to the fore. And I think that's really indicative of how we do our work. Because that's the fuel that gets us through the intellectual interests.
Of course. I've had an opportunity to interview and meet with many scholars and students, and their personal life, it's always connected with their work. It's amazing. And thank you for sharing your amazing journey.
Sure.
I'm very also interested in now your current institution, where you're currently teaching at, what department you are in, and do you mind sharing some of that?
Of course not. So I'm at Villanova University, just outside Philadelphia, so not far from here. And I'm an associate professor now of theology and religious studies. So our department is rather large. We have 31 tenure or tenure track faculty. Okay. So I've been there now for a decade, and I was hired to do interreligious studies. I was coming from the University of Hawaii, where I spent 3 years as a professor of Asian Christianity. So I've been now at 10 years at Villanova, and given my portfolio as an interreligious studies person, one of the things that I've worked very hard within the university on is what we call the Interfaith Advisory Council. And the goal of that Interfaith Advisory Council is to make a home for Villanova for non-Catholics. And that's taken a lot of my time that I've given to my department and within the university itself. As the university has grown more national in stature, and therefore I would say for an American university, more international in stature, I'm deeply committed to seeing our development as a space where people from various religious backgrounds and no religious backgrounds can find a home. So that's taken up a lot of my time there at the university itself. The other thing that I've been very active with since I guess maybe my last year in graduate school was the Society for Hindu-Christian Studies. So the Society for Hindu-Christian Studies is now over 30 years old. And it grew out of the Journal of Hindu-Christian Studies. And it is a premier forum for studying at an anthropological level, sociological level, historical level, and theological level, the interaction and interplay and exchange between Hindus and Christians. And so that has been the work outside of the university that I've given most of my time with. First as a member of the board, then having various office holder positions, till I eventually became president. And now I'm the proud past president of the Society for Hindu-Christian Studies.
Wonderful. And Hindu-Christian studies, is that going beyond just South Asia, all over the world?
Well, given the nature of Hindu diaspora and of Indian Christianities in diaspora, it's all over the world now. Which is really interesting, which makes it, you think Hindu Christian, wow, that's really niche. But when you think about the fact that there are how many billion Christians in the world and 1 billion Hindus, you're actually talking about a lot of the world's population. So it's not so niche as we might think. So I think the society has really been a great locus for this type of exchange and dialogue in sort of a very open setting.
Of course.
Yeah.
Especially here in Jersey, there's a lot of
Absolutely.
Hindus, there's also Christians as well.
Right.
And I'm sure there's a lot of interactions between the two, especially those immigrants coming from the Indian context. So
Yeah.
I think, there's a lot of people, not only located in South Asia, but also all around
All
the world.
over, yeah.
But thank you for sharing that.
Of course. And I think part of this being where we are, it's great for me as an instructor.
Yeah.
Because a lot of what I do is the study of lived religion.
Yeah.
That's the framework that I'm usually working with.
Okay.
My work is generally anthropological and historical. And if I can't take people to South Asia too often, but I can take them to communities.
Yes.
So I've recently taught at the graduate and undergraduate level a lived South Asian religions course where we visited Sikh Gurudwara, we visited Hindu temples,
Right.
Local mosques where the majority population is South Asian from Pakistan, Bangladesh, and India. So that's been a real benefit of being in this area and teaching what I teach.
Great.
Yeah.
And just for our viewers and listeners who might not be familiar, Villanova is a Catholic background school, right?
That's right. It's an Augustinian Catholic institution.
And that's why I think what you said, how you want to provide a space for non-Catholics, also non-religious, and also Christians to come and study. I think that is a great initiative.
I think also, one of the taglines for us to do that at a place like Villanova, we don't do that in spite of the Catholic Augustinian tradition, but precisely because of it.
Yes.
Because of it, which is part of, so it's mission driven, that work.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing about your
Sure.
where you're currently at. And now I think I would like to know a couple other courses that you've taught. I think you mentioned some courses that you taught undergrad and grad school
Right.
as well.
So I have a cheat sheet here. So I'm going to look at what I've taught over the last decade. So I teach on various levels. So at Villanova we have bachelor. We work at the bachelor's level, the master's level, in any number of programs, and at the doctoral level. So our doctoral program is about 9 years old now. So it really depends what I do based on what level. So everybody at Villanova has to take 2 theology and religious studies courses. That's part of our basic foundations course. And so I teach what's called THL 1000. There are different iterations of that class, and I am teaching presently the Global Religious Experience track, which for me is a class now in lived religions.
Right.
Lived religions. Catholicism and Christianity is the most represented given the nature of the institution, but we are studying multiple traditions under many themes like narrative, embodiment, ethics, or morality, etc. Okay, so that's that course. And then at the level for those who are going on in some sort of lay ministry, I teach a course, interreligious literacy and cooperation. Have a similar course like that on the undergraduate upper division level, and then. I teach a course, Modern Hinduisms, at the upper division undergraduate level. I also teach courses in South Asian Christianities at the graduate level. All right, so that gives you a general sense. There's also, I'm in the spirituality cohort for our doctoral students. So soon I'll be teaching a course, a seminar, basically a pro seminar, looking at spirituality, just as I did for history as well. And that's where we're in part like an introduction to the field of spirituality or history. So that gives you a sense of what I do.
Thank you for sharing that. And that's quite a wide spectrum of, in a way, the courses that you cover. I'm also curious, have you also engaged with students in terms of methodology? Because you've talked about lived religion and you're interested in anthropology, and also you've done your work in ethnographic work. I'm curious, have you had an opportunity to engage students in terms of teaching methodology?
More as an advisory level. And in that history foundations course, we do spend a lot of time talking about methodology. I have not yet spent much time on ethnographic methodology or anthropological methods as a teacher of it. Thankfully, there's other people in my department who can also do that. So when I do that, it's at an advisory level. Interestingly enough, as part of my undergraduate course, the students have to do a very preliminary kind of ethnography, finding a human subject that they will talk to about their lived religious lives.
Yeah, get their beaks wet in a way.
Exactly. So they dip their toes in this process.
Yeah.
But by the time they do that in the class, they've had about 8 or 9 weeks of reading case studies.
Right.
So,
well, that's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
I'm sure a lot of students enjoy learning more about the courses that you are teaching, and kind of now segueing into, aside from all the courses that you're teaching, we're also focusing on more so what you're writing about, and shifting gears into some looking at some of your past publications, and the most recent publication, I think you brought the book with me here to get for me, Between Hindu and Christian.
That's right.
This is from Oxford University Press.
That's right.
And I was wondering if you can talk a little bit about this book. You also talk about methodology. I think you mentioned a little bit about that too, how you use ethnographic and historical approach. If we just talk about the book, we can take a whole hour. But just to kind of sum it up, what it is you're trying to argue in this book, and again, the methodology you use, if you mind highlighting that for us. Yeah.
So the argument is really an interpretive argument that you cannot understand this community if you do not attend to the religious streams which help to constitute them. And those streams include Hindu bhakti. They include vernacular Indian religion. And they also include charismatic Catholicism. And if you just look at this community of, it's hard to find exact numbers, but we're talking no less than 20,000. Okay. If you were just to attend to what you deem the Christian aspects, you would miss out on what is going on with this community. You would have an incomplete picture. And so what I try to do is put the subjects of the Chris Bhaktas through these various lenses, and to see them through the lens of Hindu devotionalism, particularly Vaishnava devotionalism in North India, and emancipatory praxis that has historically come, though not as much as we would like to think, has come out of devotional movements. That's one part of it. But then you have to attend to charismatic Catholicism. The center of their worship lives, their devotional lives, is a place called Matridham Ashram. And that is a Catholic enculturating ashram founded in the late 1970s. And the charismatic Catholicism came later. So if you know the history of charismatic Catholicism in India, that's the late 80s, that's the early 90s. Okay? And so you have to attend to what's going on in that sort of movement within Christianity in India, where there has been a move actually away from enculturation and more towards charismatic. And these put it together. So it's not like one is actually thrown out and a new is, it's time for charismatic Catholicism. It's really the marrying of these. So the kind of Catholicism that you discover in these spaces is a charismatic Catholicism that has already gone through an enculturation movement. That means that the normative Catholicism that they get is this kind of charismatically inflected Catholicism. Okay? And this is happening, ironically, at a time of Hindu nationalism and economic liberalization. Okay, so there's a lot going on. There's so much going on. And my book cannot do justice. It's just one vantage, right? But I think it's really rich for teasing out what the future of Indian Christianity might look like, how Christianity or worship of Yesu, of Jesus, can then influence local Hindu practice, and also at a time when, it's not easy to be worshiping Jesus in India today. It's a very strange thing, and one would never think that Varanasi, which is understood as the heart of Hindu civilization, would see such a movement, and yet there they are. And I should add, in something that I didn't say, all this is happening during a time of Dalit and low caste movements of emancipation.
Right.
So these are the various streams that this book attends to. So everything from the oral history that I was able to put together from living subjects who were there, because it's not that old a movement. We date it back to usually 1992, 1993.
Oh, okay.
And we move forward, and that's when we get into ethnography and the actual introducing to lives of certain people.
Right.
So we can get the contours of their lived experience. And then I make some prognostications towards the end. And that's the book.
In a way, I'm hearing this is kind of an invitation for future more people to research on, you know, the topics that you deal with here in your book. And again, I haven't had yet the privilege of diving into your book yet, but I look forward to reading and learning more about, you know, the things that you talk about.
I'm very happy you say that.
Yeah.
For a very basic reason, and that is this is coming out in softcover over the summer, which will become much more accessible for people than it currently is.
Yes, thank you so much. And I think, again, this is in line in what we do here in World Christianity. And I hope that, you know, World Christianity scholars and students will engage more into what you do in your work.
Well, I like that you said here, because I can't leave this seat without acknowledging the fact that my trajectory, though it started, you know, when we start, origins are always a dangerous thing. But as far as we can say, arbitrarily, much of that was nurtured when I was an MDiv student here.
Oh, wow.
All right. So when I was studying here, I was able to study with Charles Ryerson. I was able to study with Andrew Walls for a time. You know, so we overlapped, and that set me on a certain course, and gave me a certain framework to interpret what I had experienced for the prior 3 years, but then to move forward with new questions. As I myself was theologically maturing, asking my own theological questions, and then as I became more and more enamored by anthropology and history.
Well, thank you so much for sharing about your publication. And I'm curious to know now what is upcoming for you in terms of your work.
Sure.
What are you working on in terms of maybe a future book project or even a journal publication? Do you mind sharing with us a little bit?
Not at all. So my latest project is exploring the relationship between the Syrian Orthodox of Kerala with the Church Missionary Society, the CMS, in the first half of the 19th century. And this is a very particular period of time. We'll just say between 1810 and 1840. We'll keep it simple. And this was a time of relative amity between these two bodies. And it was also the time of increased colonization. Though interesting, Kerala was not yet Kerala. It was local kingdoms. In this case that I'm studying, in Kochi or Cochin and what was called Travancore. All right, and I really want to do a fine-grained study of that work. I've started it. I will be going to Birmingham to the archives this summer. Thankfully, I was given a grant to do that. So thank you, Villanova. And so that's mostly going to be English language materials. Over the last 2 years, I've been studying Malayalam, so that's new for me. This is a move from the Hindi belt in the north to South India. So at middle age, I am doing more language work, and I'm feeling the difficulty of that. But that's the work I'm doing. So once I go to the archives, it's always interesting to do archival work. You never know what you're exactly going to find, you know. So I'm curious to see where that leads, and then hopefully go to other Malayalam archives. And see how these voices match up or do not match up. Right? So we can talk all we want about local agency, but you have to attend to both archives as best as you can to tell this story. So that's my most recent project. So, you know, I hope there'll be some initial findings to report within the next 6 months. that will hopefully lead to articles, and then I'll keep going and maybe turn it into a book. We'll see. I do have some ethnographic work that I want to do on the ground, and we'll see how that develops over the next few years.
Good. Well, thank you so much for sharing about your future project. It sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
And look forward to reading more about
It sounds
what
interesting to me too. But you hope if you're going to spend time
Yeah.
doing this type of work that you actually are interested in it. I've been fascinated with Kerala since 1993 when I first visited there. I at that time had just been coming from the north. India to me after 6 months was a certain way.
Yeah.
It was very northern centric. And then after 2.5 days on the train, cutting through the heart of the subcontinent, I come out in Tiruvananthapuram, and this whole new India opened up to me. And I've been fascinated by the place. The interesting thing is it is woefully understudied. Woefully understudied. So Kerala Studies is a thing, and it's gathering in interest because it is a very cosmopolitan place. If you are interested in world Christianity, is interesting because Christians have been there since perhaps as early as the 1st century, and definitely as early as the 4th century. St. Thomas is understood as the great progenitor of Indian Christianity. So it's a good shift for me. It keeps things fresh as a scholar. I'm always have my foot in the Hindi belt because that's what made the immediate impact in my life. But so the Kerala work is brings me a lot of joy just to think about it.
Yeah.
Especially at this stage of my career.
Yeah, and especially as you said, you're learning new languages as you go on too, and that's, I think, a real big motivation for future scholars and students of world Christianity or just doctoral students. You're never at a point where you learned enough. You're constantly learning.
I think one of the challenges of doing world Christianity well is that it's not an inch deep and a mile wide. I think we need to constantly moving back and forth between the micro and the macro in this sort of dialectical movement. Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Now, I want to head to the last portion of our interview today, and that is thinking about world Christianity as a field of study.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know if you would share your thoughts on the state of our field as of now, of world Christianity, and its future. What are some of the challenges maybe you might have faced in engaging with world Christianity? What are some of the things that you think, in a way should be considered as what is missing or what needs to be discussed more in the field of world Christianity?
Yeah, I really appreciate the question because it gives me time to reflect on world Christianity.
Yeah.
It's a broad field
It is,
by definition.
Yeah.
I think that when I look at what world Christianity should be, I think it should be interdisciplinary. I think it should decenter the West. So I want to see, if we're going to speak about the geographical loci of Christianity as having shifted to the South and East, I want to see more development of institutions in the South and East, and at least the nurturing of scholars from those spaces.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to teach a seminar a year ago that I had 12 scholars. I had one from Indonesia, 2 from Nigeria, 1 from Cuba, Caucasian from the Midwest, Vietnam. It was one of the best things I could have ever been a part of as an instructor.
Right.
Because we really were, this is overstated, but we really were learning from each other. And what I was trying to do was to provide a framework, a methodological and theoretical framework. And I think I want to see more of that. I know that that's a great part about being at PTS. And I think the movement of having these conferences, for example, the World Christianity Conference here, but then in another
Global
space,
South, right?
the Global South or East. I think that's very important. But I really think for this to be something, to grow into what I would hope that it would be truly global. And that may lead world Christianity into uncharted territories. We might have to change the name of what we're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't mean just abject fragmentation, but I mean don't hold it so tightly so that you don't occlude your vision of what is taking place. To me, that's why we do all this theoretical work. It's to give us tools for comprehension.
Right.
So we need it all. So I'm very much a pluralist, a methodological pluralist when it comes to world Christianity of what we really need. The other thing I would say, and this is I'm coming out of a South Asian perspective, is that for world Christianity to pass muster, it should necessarily be an interreligious, intercultural endeavor.
Yes.
I believe with Chidester that all religion is interreligion. Even though we cover our tracks very often and say, nope, that came from our community. Don't try to muck it up with, traditions don't generally footnote themselves, right?
Yes.
But we have to be good historians and good excavators of what's going on. And I do find over and over and over again that all religion is in some level interreligion. Okay, so that would be another attribute of world Christianity going forward.
Yes, thank you for sharing that, and I so 100% agree with that. With especially engaging with other religions, I think that was one of the themes for previous World Christianity Conference, Christianity and its engagement with other religions. And I think more so, not only developing our theory and methods, but also engaging more so in areas such as, that we've not dived into, sections of the world that we haven't thought about, that we have missed. I think that's very important.
One of the things that could come up with that, and I hope would come up, is that we really do interrogate the categories. Like I've seen, I think we need a necessary interrogation of notions of religion as these hermeneutically sealed things that must necessarily bounce off. There's a lot of normative Christian understanding behind that. I understand how that gets there. But if you study different spaces where worship of Yesu or Jesus exist, those categories are not clear. Those categories are not clear. And we do harm when we impose them and try to universalize them. And I think that can be done in an unwarranted and unhelpful manner, and in fact a dangerous manner, existentially dangerous for people who are actually worshiping Yesu around the world. Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dr. San Chirico. We are here in the midst of World Christianity Conference here at PTS, and you've taken the time with me to share about your thoughts and your work. As a kind of a closing impromptu question that I like to ask is, I asked my guests if they can complete the following sentence.
Okay, I'm nervous.
Which is, world Christianity is, and then in, again, a line or two, if you can just, what comes to mind just right now as we've had this conversation? And it doesn't have to come from an academic or just purely from a drawing from other footnotes or books, but just what comes to you when you try to complete that sentence? World Christianity is
emergent.
Emergent.
Yeah.
Can you be
now
I'm very curious about. Could you explain just in maybe a couple sentences why you think it's an emergent?
Because I think we don't know where it will go. We don't know where it will go, and I think that should give us some hope and some caution, but also some joy of knowing that we have something to do with what we call world Christianity becomes. Now, just so you know, I don't usually say world Christianity. I usually say world Christianities.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean that in some trendy POMO kind of post-colonial thing, but I really want to tag difference there.
Of course.
All right, as much as we possibly can.
Yes.
And someday maybe we'll be talking about interplanetary Christianity. I don't know, but that sort of openness and emergence to what could happen and what could be. That's what, when you ask me that question, that's what I think about.
Good. Well, again, thank you so much, Dr. San Chirico. It's been a pleasure to have you
here
at OMSC Roundtable.
Yes.
We look forward to reading more of your work and your scholarship, and thank you again for your time today.
Thanks for the opportunity, and I'm still looking for the roundtable.
Yeah. Well, it is kind of the atmosphere that
I love it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Thanks for the time.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.